Welcome back to the True to Yourself podcast. My name is Ananta Ripa Ajmera, and I'm so happy to be joined today by George Lizos, who is the author of Protect Your Light, a practical guide to energy protection, cleansing, and cutting cords. It's a really empowering guide for empaths, especially to be able to really protect ourselves as we go through different situations in life, and especially in the digital scene. It's really unique to have this kind of a resource for how to protect our energy, especially when we are interacting and engaging online. So welcome, George. So wonderful to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me, Ananta. It's such a pleasure to have this chat with you.
Thank you so much. So I'd love to dive right in. What is energy protection and how do you define it?
So the way that I define energy protection in Protect Your Light is that energy protection is the art of being energetically authentic. It's about ensuring that what's ours is ours and what's theirs is theirs. Essentially, it's about creating a boundary between us and the external world so that we choose what comes into our energy field. In other words, if we don't spend the time to consciously and daily and consistently identify, cleanse, and shield our energy, then we run the risk of allowing other people's thoughts, emotions, and behavior to affect ours. And at some point, we end up thinking other people's thoughts, feeling other people's emotions, and behaving in ways that are not in alignment with who we really are and following essentially other people's purpose. So when we take the time to tune in and protect our energy, then we ensure that whatever's coming from us is truly coming from us and it's not coming from all the other external energetic attachments.
That's amazing. I've definitely experienced that of absorbing energy that is not my own or was not my own. And I wonder, how would you guide someone who's new to understanding this concept, even to know whether your energy has been infiltrated by someone or something from the outside?
That's a great question. Now, if you're a complete newbie, just start by being mindful with how you feel moment to moment. So let's say, for example, you've just woken up in the morning and you're going to go to work. Notice how you feel when you've changed the environments. You're at home and then maybe you're in the car and then, or maybe you're in the tube, like in the metro or in a train, or maybe then you arrive at work. So notice how your emotional state shifts from space to space and from interaction to interaction. Because the way that your energy shifts, and by energy I really mean emotion here, is the way that you're affected by the external world. Let's say, for example, you go into a room and then immediately you feel drawn to certain people, and then like you feel appalled from like certain different people, and you know exactly where to go, where to sit, who to talk with. That's you interacting with energy. So by starting to be mindful of what's changing within us, we can get a sense of, oh, okay, so my energy dropped. I'm feeling a little bit different, a little bit worse than I felt before. That means something has shifted energetically within me. Maybe I picked up some kind of energetic attachment from a person or from a space. And by spaces, I also mean digital spaces, because digital spaces are also spaces. If you spend like 10 minutes on Facebook and then suddenly you feel like really wacky within, then that is the energy of the etheric attachments within the digital sphere, the landscape affecting you. So that is the easy way to get started. Now, if you're a little bit more advanced, and what I teach in the book, I guide you through the first step of the process, which is all about turning on your psychic vision, which is a fancy way of saying your inner eye, your inner vision, and just tuning in and scanning your body and your energy field to identify all the different energetic attachments that I talk about in the book and how they're cluttering your energetic field so you can clear them.
That's amazing. Really, really helpful. And, it's really interesting that you mention different kinds of energy shields and protection that are connected with the 5 great elements, because in Ayurveda, we work a lot with earth, water, fire, air, and space, and ether, basically, as another word for space, to be able to balance ourselves at all levels, physically, emotionally, psychologically. So I loved reading in your book about how we can work with these same 5 elements on an energetic level and an emotional level to really protect ourselves and to cleanse ourselves, to transmute the energy that is coming in. Can you talk a little bit about the connection between energy protection and the 5 great elements?
I would love to talk about that because I'm so passionate about teaching earth-based energy protection practices. I believe that Mother Earth, Gaia, she's the OG energy protector. She's been here for 4.5 billion years. She's seen it all. She's survived it all. We've been here for a few 100,000 years, a blink of the eyes in the Earth's timeline. My first degree was in geography, so I studied the Earth's practices from a scientific level. And what my teachers always taught me is that it's not really about saving planet Earth. It's about saving the human race, because planet Earth will survive. She has practices to cleanse out the impurities and revitalize herself and find balance. We are those impurities if we let ourselves be that. And we've been doing so. We've been doing a great job at destroying ourselves by destroying the earth. Because look what happened in 2019, COVID happened, wiping us out, essentially. So the earth is always going to strive and succeed in finding her balance. So it's very important to, as light workers, to lead the way away from distracting ourselves via distracting the earth to partnering up with the earth and working with the earth's elementals and the 5 elements to help create heaven on earth and therefore create heaven within us as well. So in Protect Your Light, I talk a lot about how to partner with the earth and work with the earth's cleansing and shielding qualities to cleanse and shield our own self. I also make the point to talk about how we have all the power we need to protect ourselves, our physical bodies, which are made out of the earth, essentially, and all the 5 elements, our own bodies are all the tools we need to cleanse energy, to give intuitive readings, to do whatever we want in the energetic world. All these different spirit guides and tools that we use are complementary to our own protection power. So by working with the earth, by connecting with the 5 elements, we remind ourselves of our own power in protecting and clearing and shielding energy. So I have processes about using water and working with the water mermaids, which is a fancy way of saying with the spirit of water, or working with fire and the fire dragons, or with the air and the air sylphs, or working with the ether, space, as you call it, and the unicorns, or working with the earth element, of course, and therefore working with the tree dryads and the gnomes, and just bringing all these earth frequencies into our energy field to create protection and to create this sense of safety within ourselves and within our planet.
That's amazing. And I also really appreciated how you kept bringing this point up throughout your book about how it's ultimately through the power of intention that we heal ourselves, that we shield ourselves, that we protect our energy from infiltration or attack from the outside. So can you just highlight that point a little bit more for listeners about how important it is to really remember that it's us that has the power to be able to put into practice this whole protection mechanism?
Yes, what energetic and spiritual newbies have a hard time understanding is that all energy work is using your intention to manipulate energy. So when you're using, let's say, for example, a wand to do like a spell, for example, or any kind of tool like your crystal or your sage bundle or a Palo Santo, it's not the smoke that does the clearing. Yes, the smoke has something to do with it, but it's the intention that the smoke is clearing your energy that's clearing your energy. If you want, you don't have to use any tools and just focus your intention on clearing things, and you're clearing things. Now, intention manipulates energy, and every single person expresses their intention in different ways. Some people are visual. They like seeing things and visualizing and things changing and shifting and seeing frequencies and spirit guides coming in and performing like a psychic surgery. Other people, they like speaking out the words. And by saying a mantra, then you create cleansing and you create protection. Other people are just, they feel. So that they want to feel the energy around them. Other people just want to write it down or just demand it like with their thoughts. So it's really important of finding our own ways of expressing our intention. And why not bring it all together if you like combining different practices? That's why in Protect Your Light, I share so many different tools and different tools at the same time, because I want people to find what works for them. You don't have to use every single tool in there. It's impossible to do so. I wrote the book and I daily, day in, day out, I go with 3 different tools from the book. And I've been using them consistently for years. And I don't switch to different ones. Sometimes I do if I'm inspired to, but usually I stick to the ones that work best for me. So do what's best for you. Find your own way of relating to energy and manipulating energy. And that's how you start mastering it.
Very interesting. So I think what was interesting also in the book was that some of the techniques may be things that people are already doing, but may not know that they're actually energy protection tools. For example, I love the breath of fire. It's a yogic pranayama practice, which I have been doing, not consistently, but I know it and I have embodied it. So I feel like, oh, great. So when I'm in a situation where I'm experiencing energy that needs some fire element to transform it, I can, use this, and I already know it. And then I loved that you talked about working with crystals and working with essential oils, because we do work with essential oils, especially in Ayurveda, and just the sense of smell itself is very grounding for our energy and brings us into the present moment. So I really appreciated the fact that people may already be doing these things, but not know that these are ways to protect ourselves from feeling attacked by someone else's strong energy coming at us. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. And another one that's so easy to use is what I call in the book, the unicorn shower. So whenever we're showering, like, because we all shower daily, it's visualizing, again, using our intention to allow the water flowing through us to not just wash our physical body, but also wash our energetic body, wash our chakras and the 7 layers of our aura, and just allow this energy to completely cleanse us and rejuvenate us. And the reason I call it a unicorn shower is because we call upon the unicorns, who are elementals of the element of spirit. And the way that I see unicorns, they are spiritual extensions of our soul. It is our soul essentially manifesting in the form, in the portrayal of a unicorn, just so we can have a more direct communication with it. And then asking this highest version of ourselves that manifests as a unicorn to fill the water in our shower with the rainbow ray, which is a high vibrational frequency of light, and then allow that rainbow ray with the water to wash over our body and cleanse whatever it is we've attracted in our day. Another practice is the candle cleansing. So I have a candle with me right here so I can demonstrate it. So you basically get your candle. Now, the flame of the candle is a fire elemental, the salamander. Okay, and it has been defined like that, like for eons. And then you just consciously connect with the element of fire, and you can call upon the oversoul of fire to come in and ignite the energy within this candle. And you can visualize bonfires and lava and the sun and the warmth and the fire within you. So you're finding the essence of fire, the oversoul of fire. And then once you've done so, you connect with the specific fire elemental within this candle and ask it to cleanse your energy at the end of the day. And you candle shower yourself by scooping your hand around, getting this warmth, and with your intention, getting it and washing it around your energetic field. I do this usually at the end of my day because I love candles and I make these myself, so it's extra special. And it has like essential oils of rose. So at the same time, I'm getting the essential, the power and the frequency of the rose within my energetic field. And I'm not only clearing my energy, I'm also infusing my energy with the energy of roses. So I'm both cleansing and shielding at the same time. It's a wonderful practice to end your day with.
That's so amazing that you shared that, because I grew up visiting the Hindu temples in the community where my parents live. And in the Hindu temples, in the Vedic spiritual tradition, we do something called Arti, which I've written about in my book, The Way of the Goddess, where we're basically offering the light of a lamp or a candle to a certain deity in a circular motion. And then what happens after that is the priest actually goes to each of the devotees in the community, and we actually are taught to take our hand over the fire, just like you were showing, and put it over our head.
Exactly.
So it's actually like part of the worship ritual that we have.
Yes.
But I had never, ever thought of that as being an energy protection or cleansing or shielding practice.
Here's the thing, new age practices are really old age practices that we're just rediscovering, because there's, look at you, like you're practicing the way of the Ayurveda and like Hindu goddesses, and I'm a Greek pagan priest. So I draw from the ancient Greek. So through two different cultures practicing similar practices. So it's amazing how we go back and look to our ancestors for this kind of guidance, and we are resurfacing and rebirthing essentially the old way.
Yeah, no, that's really amazing because you do come from a different tradition, but it's
Yeah.
the exact same thing, basically, what
Yeah.
you were showing, and that's so cool. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to learn all of these energy cleansing and shielding techniques?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take you back to when I was 13 years old, or even before that, growing up in a little island in the Mediterranean. Cyprus is where I'm from and where I'm currently based. And growing up, I was always very sensitive. I was always sensitive to energy and to plants and to nature and to the earth, very different from other kids my age. So from a very young age, I had this sense of I'm weird. I stand out, and therefore I have to work hard to fit in. And therefore I have to change myself to fit into other people's stereotypes. So I learned how to people please from a very early age.
Mm-hmm.
And then growing up, doing this and getting really good at changing myself, at 13 years old, I realized that I was gay. At a time and in a country that was very homophobic, that being gay had been legalized only a few years before. So it was a huge taboo to be a certain way. I didn't even know what it was. But as soon as I realized, I'm like, there's no way I can accept this about myself. So I put myself through hell trying to change me from gay to straight, trying to monitor the way I walked and the way I talked and the way I expressed myself, denying my nature. 2 years of this, I was such a wreck, emotionally, psychologically, physically. I reached such a low psychological point, and I'm like, you know what? I try to change. I can't change. What is the point of living? And that's when I had my lowest moment, when I decided to take my own life.
Oh, wow.
And it was in that moment, right before I did it, that I had an epiphany that changed everything for me and got me on this path. And that epiphany was, you know what? Fuck what people think, fuck what society thinks, and just learn to love and accept yourself exactly as you are. And I had no idea how to do that, because all I knew was judgment and self-loathing and bullying myself and from others as well. But my willingness to change and to learn to love myself opened me up to all these different spiritual tools. And then step by step, I learned how to forgive myself, how to forgive my bullies, how to love myself. And I got onto a spiritual path of healing and growth and transformation. Years later, I realized that essentially what I was doing, I was teaching myself how to protect my energy, because had I knew how to protect my energy back then, I wouldn't have to go through all this hell and go to that low psychological point, because I would know how to maintain boundaries between other people and myself. What's my thought? What's their thought? What's my emotion? What's their emotion? And maintain my energetic authenticity.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And what would you say being true to yourself means to you? I know you just described an incredible moment in your life where you were true to yourself. And how has that evolved for you over time? And how are you practicing that now?
For me, it has to do with tuning into the energy of my soul. And I consider our hearts to be the doorways of our soul. So whenever my energy is clear, wherever we clear our energy and we find alignment with who we really are, because that's the whole point of energy protection, is to bring ourselves into a state of being at home with ourselves and with the world. It's alignment. Okay, so when we find alignment, then our truth comes forth. So for me, leading this path has to do with maintaining clean, pure energy so that I can communicate with my soul's musings, essentially, hear what my soul wants me to do, and then follow the guidance. And it showed me a path of writing 3 books and starting podcasts and teaching courses. And you know what? It's a humbling experience because you never know what's going to come next. You think you're a certain way, and then something happens and you're taking a whole different path. Even last week, I started a new podcast that I never thought I could start, which is a gay sex and relationships podcast. Completely different to what I'm doing, but actually not, because it's taking me back to my beginning, to how I wanted to help gay men find fulfillment and find happiness and stop limiting themselves with different stereotypes. But I went down a different path and I thought, you know what, that is my path. And then all of a sudden I'm having an epiphany. I'm like, okay, but if I wasn't connected to my soul, I wouldn't have heard this call and I would have suppressed it and stayed on the same path. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wow. So it's just expansion and being open to whatever kind of life brings our way.
Exactly.
That's so interesting. Another interesting point that you talk about in your book is about whether we even need to have energy protection and whether that's feeding into fear-based beliefs, right? Because some people don't believe that it even exists. Like if we believe that we are all one and we are all part of the source, then what is there to fear in terms of outside influences, because they are just a manifestation of that one soul. So how do you respond to this idea?
Yeah, great question. So there are 2 schools of thought when it comes to energy protection. As you said, one school is like, there is no such thing, there's no need for energy protection because then you're buying into this fear and therefore you're attracting attack if you're believing that you need to protect yourself. Because when we are one and when we experience our oneness, nothing can attack us. And then there's the other school of thought that says, you know what, if we need to protect ourselves, like people are out to get us and we need to find a way to like stay protected. I believe in both schools of thought, and I believe that there is a balance there. And here's a balance. Yes, it is true that when we are in alignment with who we really are through our spiritual practice, nobody can hurt us because we have natural energetic defenses that protect us when we are in alignment. That being said, we are also human. That means we have emotions that are different from just love and happiness and joy and bliss and euphoria, and therefore the emotions that we have when we are in alignment. So when shit happens in life and we lose ourselves and we stray away from home and we get out of alignment, then we need energy protection tools to bring ourselves back home. All energy protection is, there are practices that help us find alignment, which assures our natural energetic protection. If we were meant to just be love and light and be totally in alignment, we wouldn't have been born in the first place. We chose to be born into a world of egos, into a world of polarity, into a world that has contrast so that we can play with one another. So we're just using and working with our own physicality, with our own double nature, with our own duality, rather than denying it. And I feel that there is a school of thought in the spiritual community that they deny that physical nature. And it's all about oneness. I'm like, yes, that's great when you are there. But what happens when you're not? Not all of us can go and be monks and just be in this total constant space of bliss all the time. Many of us have families and have desires, and we mix with one another, and stuff happens that upsets us. and we interact with people that sometimes they are in their ego, sometimes we are in our ego. How do we negotiate this? So these are tools that we can use to negotiate that.
Very interesting. And I'm curious if you have any guidance around how people can deal, say, with dark entities or with a feeling of, like I've heard this story basically of someone who got taken over by their connection with a certain goddess.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really sad story because in the end, they ended up getting taken over and they took their own life. And they, I think, might have thought that it was like a sacrifice to this deity or something. But I know that some of these things can happen to people, and it can get a little confusing where the dark energy just takes over a person. It's not their own, it's coming from something external, but it's quite a scary thing. So I'm just curious if you could talk about it and talk about how your energy protection tools or your practice could support that, or how do you know when that has happened to someone?
Yes. So in Protect Your Light, I talk about spirit attachments. And therefore, when external spirits, whether it's a deity or whether it's a different type of spirit, attaches to our energetic field. Now, there are different levels of that. Okay. A spirit attachment is different from a demonic possession, for example. When we're talking about demonic possession, and therefore we have inhuman spirits taking over, there are usually 3 stages. It's the infestation process where they're messing with our thoughts and we're hearing things. It's the oppression stage, the second stage, where they're moving things in the house and we see really like supernatural phenomena happening and it becomes really intense. And the aim of that is to exhaust us energetically until they possess us, which is step number 3. Now, spiritual possession is very rare. I've never witnessed it in my life. And I've spoken with many other people who do this kind of work, and it's a very rare phenomenon. What is not rare, though, is infestation and oppression. I see it almost weekly now with my one-on-one clients where they come and they're hearing things or things are moving in the house, and it's a matter of like infestation or oppression. So essentially what we need to realize is whatever we attract into our lives has to be a vibrational match to our own kind of energy. And the interesting thing here, the key word here is there's our consistent vibrational frequency. If we're consistently on a low vibe state, then we're going to be a vibrational match to low level spirits and low level energies in general. So the best way to protect ourselves from spirit attachments is to maintain a consistent positive vibration within our house and within our own body. That's why it's important to have a daily spiritual practice and a daily energy protection practice, because it's your way of tuning in and clearing yourself and maintaining a high vibe state so you don't attract these kinds of spirits. So it's in the book, I share a 7-step process of taking ourselves through this journey of connecting with the earth and connecting with our protection power, and identifying what's there, clearing it, shielding ourselves, creating different shields around us that protect us from these kinds of spirits. And also, part of this process is scanning and identifying what type of spirit attachment may be in your energetic field and how to protect yourself from it. And I also shared about the vulnerabilities. There are many things that make us vulnerable to this kind of supernatural phenomena, such as, for example, excessive drinking or eating or obsessive thoughts about anything. They create vulnerabilities within us. And there's way more than that I talk about in the beginning of the book, actually. So when it comes to spirit attachments, we can have a spirit attachment of someone who used to live and now is like a ghost, for example, who passed over. It could be a spirit from the astral world. It could be an elemental kind of spirit. It could be a demonic spirit. It could also be an object attachment, which is a charged object that someone has given us that has some kind of energy that attaches to us. Think about Harry Potter and how in the second movie, Genie had this the Tom Riddle diary that was a charged object, essentially, that was a proxy for Voldemort. So the object had access to her energy. That is an example of an object attachment.
Wow.
So when we are aware of this, then we know how to recognize them. But what I really wanted to make sure was that people don't get scared with this kind of thing. So I keep the quote unquote negative part of the book brief, because the longer we spend time thinking about this kind of stuff, the more we attract them. So it's
right. Focusing our energy. So not to stay in these kind of darker spaces or thinking about these things too much, but just trying to keep our thoughts onto the higher.
Exactly. And the most important thing to do so is to have a daily energy protection practice, because if the energy pile up, then it's going to be harder for us to clear it. Like for those people who are clearing their energy for the first time, it's going to be a long session of doing so. And by the way, I have a freebie for everyone. So when people order the book, if they go to protectyourlightbook.com, when you enter the order number, then you're going to get a free workshop, a 2-hour workshop with me, where I guide you through the process of turning on your psychic vision, scanning, and identifying.
Wow. Yeah, that's really helpful. Really, really important and interesting. What is the role of mantras in energy protection? And can you explain how they work?
Of mantras.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So mantras is basically another way of using our intention to create energy and to manipulate energy around us. So if you have a mantra such as "I'm safe and protected," instantly when you feel vulnerable to energy attack, you can say a mantra to instantly bring yourself back home, to instantly create a shield around you. So instead of visualizing a shield, you can tell yourself that, you know what? The violet flame, I'm going to activate it as soon as I say a mantra. And you can say like a little prayer like, I turn on the violet flame around me and allow it to transmute all negative energy. So you're saying this mantra, this kind of affirmation that activates the energy that you want to create around yourself. And it's great to have mantras because they're easy to remember. And instantly, as soon as we say them, we feel a sense of connection within us.
Yeah, I think it's really, really powerful, because I think sometimes even like black magic spells, for example, they often operate with words, right?
Yes, they operate with words. It's basically other people's intentions that are stronger than our intentions. So all black magic is we are vulnerable because we believe in it, first of all, and because their intention in them hurting us is stronger than our intention in us feeling protected. And that's why feeling protected is like a muscle. So the more you do it, the more you affirm that I'm safe and protected, the more protected you are, and the less other people or entities are able to affect you. Let me tell you really quickly of my encounter with a demonic entity. So a few months ago, I was watching The Conjuring, the movie. And then I'm like, I do this kind of work, and then I never had an interaction with a demonic entity. I should do some research into it because it's my kind of work. So I called it in, essentially. And then a week later, I started having nightmares. Whereas in my dreams, I would be visited by this spirit, which I recognize as a demonic entity, and I would get scared or attacked by it. Night after night after night. On the third night, shit got real, because I was sleeping and I was having this nightmare of this man who was the entity chasing me. And then it managed to catch me, and then it leaned over and bit me on my belly. In that moment, I woke up. I jumped out of bed, searing pain on my stomach. I pull my t-shirt up and I see a bite mark with blood on my stomach. And I'm like, okay, this is the oppression, by the way, stage. I'm like, okay, this got real. So I'm like, it's time to call upon the 7-step process of my book and just pass this away. I realized in that moment that my belief in this spirit hurting me was stronger than my belief in my protection. So there was something within me, and this is something that I talk in Protect Your Life, which is really important. It's really important to do the inner work to identify the fears and the limiting beliefs and the traumas that are creating an opening, that are creating a vulnerability, because energy work is not enough. We then have to go within and see, okay, what within me has drawn this in? What limiting belief within me created this energetic vulnerability. So I went within, I'm like, okay, this is what's happening. I can see this fear that's coming up and I need to work on it. And I worked on it. But in the moment, I used a mantra. I strengthened my belief in my protection by telling to this entity, get the fuck out of my body. I am in control of my energy. You're not allowed in. And being assertive. So I used the mantra, but by doing so, I strengthened my belief in my protection so much so that nobody could mess with me.
Wow.
And it was gone.
Wow.
It never bothered me before.
That's quite an experience to just out of the blue wake up and have, blood on your stomach after having this whole encounter. I have had one encounter with a living being who didn't have great intentions towards me. So I can experientially totally affirm what you're saying, that I didn't know this vocabulary to say it, but I intuitively now can see how with the mantras, with my continuous practices of spiritual practice and, repetition and consistency, I just built up my protection so much that it was more than what they could, bring me down with. And I can totally see how that whole thing works and how it does destroy these evil spirits and evil intentions in other people, even through the power of also not coming from anger or revenge or giving them back anything that they're bringing in, but just let me be the light. Let me, affirm the light. Let me transmute out any negativity or darkness coming in and let it just be light for them also. And I think that's also really important, because if we feel like we're battling somewhere with someone else's energy, right, or their evil intentions towards us, their desires to hurt us for whatever reason, usually out of jealousy, then we're going to be more empowered, I feel, to continue on with the journey. Otherwise, it's too exhausting. It's really, really draining to try to fight an energy vampire with hatred and revenge. Would you agree?
Yeah, it just amplifies the hurt and their attachment, because whenever someone is feeling jealous or we're involved with that and we're feeling that and we're allowing that, that means we have energetic cords that I talk about in the book, the toxic energetic cords of attachment. So the more we perpetuate this fighting by giving it back, the more we strengthen that energetic cord and allow that energy to multiply. So in those moments, it's just the wiser thing to do is to just cut those cords and let it go. Many people are like, oh, cut the cords and send them love. But sometimes sending them love creates another cord that allows them to send negative energy back in. It's not about sending love. It's just being really assertive and saying, you know what, stay away. There's no love coming here. Just stay away.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true, because it's that which creates more cords. And eventually I do feel, though, that it's important to clear it with forgiveness and love. But I feel that that's part of the longer journey. That's part of once you're very far away from the direct situation and you know that you're safe and out of harm's way, then I feel that kind of deeper forgiveness and sending them love also is a way for having closure. But it is a good point that you're making to not get caught in that trap or that illusion, which can create more cords and more of an attachment to that particular person or entity. So yeah, I really appreciate and resonate with that.
There are short-term practices and there are long-term practices. The short-term practice is, be assertive in the moment. And then once the emotion has dissipated, then you can do your forgiveness a year down the line, a few months down the line, in your full moon, burn it away and let them go.
Yeah. Wow. It's so amazing to learn these things. I really appreciate what you're doing to empower empaths, especially because it's so easy for us as empaths to just absorb like a sponge other people's emotions and fears and insecurities and jealousies. And more than ever today, I feel we really do need to protect ourselves and be able to share this ability to do so with other people. So where can people find your book and you and the ability to learn more about how they can protect themselves going forward?
So you can find the book anywhere books are sold, and it's actually translated now into Polish, Italian, German, and Spanish. So wherever
Oh,
you are in the
wow.
world, you can get the book. And if you go to protectyourlifebook.com, when you get the book, as I said earlier, you can get a free workshop with me as well. You can enter the order number, and you can get in touch with me on Instagram at George Lizos, and my Facebook group, Your Spiritual Toolkit. And of course, my website, georgelizos.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, George, for joining us today on the True to Yourself podcast. I feel like the listeners are really in for such a wonderful resource with all of the things that you're doing. So thank you so much again.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me. I really loved our conversation. Thank you, Ananta.
Thank you. Likewise.